Job. In the book of Job in the Bible, there is a story of a wealthy man named Job who lives in a region known as Uz, with his large extended family and great flocks of animals. He is blameless and upright, always striving to live a moral life, and he has a very disciplined relationship with God. Job chapter 1 verses 1 to 5. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts." Thus did Job continually. God extols Job's virtues to Satan, but Satan counters that Job is only righteous because God has lavished him with favor. Job chapter 1 verses 6 to 10. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. Satan dares God that Job will change and curse God if approved to inflict suffering. God allows Satan to torment Job to test this bold claim, yet he stops Satan from taking Job's life. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, Very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Job chapter 1 verses 11 to 12. Job obtains 4 reports in one day, each informing him that his sheep, servants, and 10 children have all died due to stealing invaders or natural tragedies. Job chapter 1 verses 13 to 19. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them, and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. In despair, Job rends his attire and shaves his head, but he still honors God in his prayers. Job chapter 1 verses 20 to 22. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. When Satan returns to heaven, God gives him another chance to put Job to the test. Job is currently suffering from severe skin rashes. Job's wife tries to persuade him to reject God and give up, but he resists and bears his sufferings. Two plots are expertly intertwined, a heavenly plot and an earthly one. The occurrences on earth result from something already occurring in heaven, just as there is war on the earth immediately following a conflict in heaven in the book of Revelation. Three of Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, arrive to console him, sitting with him in silence for 7 days in honor of his grief. Job curses the day of his birth, comparing life and death to light and darkness. He wishes he hadn't been born, and that his birth had been shrouded in darkness, believing that life only adds to his anguish. The suffering shows too much for Job, and he turns bitter, anxious, and scared. He laments the injustice that God lets evil people thrive while he and many other honest people suffer. Job wants to face God and protest, but cannot physically find God. He thinks wisdom is hidden from humanity, but he resolves to pursue it by fearing God and avoiding evil. God eventually intervenes. During his speeches, 36 times Job asked God to speak with him. He has now received his wish. Job is reminded by God that he is the creator of everything. Job is being reminded that he can't understand God, and he can't understand the animal world, never mind the moral world. So God's main point is, why are you attempting to dispute with me? Job responds that God is all-knowing, and that no plan of his can be foiled. He now realizes that his questioning of God was utterly inappropriate, and he despises himself and repents in ashes and dust. Although Job's encounter with God is humiliating, the core of his problem is resolved, because he is reconnected with God. The dialogue serves as a magnificent, albeit unexpected climax to the book. The book of Job can be seen in the context of the New Testament by Christians. God allowed Satan to bring about Jesus' death on the cross, with his own son asking the question, "My God, why?" As with Job, God didn't explain why. This hope of resurrection reminds us that there will be a final vindication of Job. Christians believe that Jesus will return to judge the living and the dead at the end of time. One day, there will be a courtroom scene in which Jesus will sit as the judge, and all the evil and pious people who have ever lived will stand before his throne to be judged according to their actions in the body. So everything Job wished for is about to become a reality. God's righteousness will be applied to the entire human race in a public vindication of justice.